Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to another episode of Karma Cards. I am your host, Therese Tucker, and we have a week for you. Okay, it's already started. Today is Wednesday, May 21st, and we got a lot already going on. So yesterday, the sun entered the sign of Gemini, and you know what that means? It's Gemini season, and the word of the day is curiosity. And boy, does that word stick around for us a lot this week, because that's just the first thing that happened. So on the 20th, the sun entered Gemini. Welcome to Gemini season. This is a period of curiosity, communication, excitement, adaptability, wanting to look at all the things. Feelings of FOMO sometimes come in because Gemini wants to do it all. It wants to learn it all. It wants to see it all. And that has an effect on all of us. But wait, there's more, because on May 24th, which is, I believe, on Saturday, Saturn, one of the outer planets, shifts into the sign of Aries. Saturn's been in Pisces for the last two and a half years or so. Saturn is one of those slower moving planets. So when it shifts signs, we all feel it. So now it's moving into the sign of Aries. And this is going to begin a new cycle about your personal sense of responsibility, discipline, getting the lessons so that you can build the life that you want. Saturn is a builder. It wants to build. It works slowly, and it likes it when you own every aspect of it. So guess what? When it's in Aries, it's about that sense of self and what you're personally building. So that feeling of, where do I need to take responsibility? Where do I need to incorporate discipline into my life? Where do I need to slow down and really go over the details? Is going to start kicking in starting this weekend. Then on Sunday, May 25th, we've got Mercury entering Gemini. Now this is the sign that Mercury rules, one of the signs. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. So these two are very much about the mind. Now when Mercury is in Gemini, it's about the curiosity and the learning and exploring. It's really about your mind's going to feel sharper. There's going to be a faster pace. So when Mercury is with Gemini, this is moving at a fast pace. I can already feel the Gemini energy building in me now. I want to talk fast. I want to get it out there. I want to explain all of the ideas. That's what's coming for us on Sunday. And on Monday, we get a new moon in Gemini. So now even more about, what do you want to create, and what do you need to learn to make that happen? And you're going to want to communicate it, put it out there into the world. These feelings start increasing. So we've got a triple Gemini energy, which means we've got a stellium happening in the sun. It's our being state, and Mercury, which is our mental state, and in the moon, which is in our emotional state. So all of this curiosity really comes to the surface, and then underneath it is Saturn energy. Like, okay, we're going to use all that. Tell me what you're learning, and then put it into practice, right? We don't just get to learn it. We got to embody it. Saturn wants to bring the weight, the earthiness to all of this air energy, and is like, slow down, tiger. You got to implement what you're learning to make it stick. So that's what's happening this week. That's a lot going on. Plus, of course, the sun is doing its usual explosion of energies. We've got sunspots facing the earth, which means we've got increased solar energy, and people have been feeling it. I have not had those crown chakra spike headaches in a while. I thought maybe I was over it. No, they're back. So notice if you're feeling a little run down, a little tired, a little disconnected. If the headaches are increasing, we need to increase our water intake as well as our water absorption, which means you need to work on hydration. Maybe you need to add electrolytes or some Celtic sea salt to your water to really help that water get deep into the cells, because we are spinning through it a lot. The energy is fast moving. We're in an air season, so faster moving energy and a lot of solar energy. So make sure you're taking good care of yourself. Take rest, take breaks, Give yourself breaks from technology. That helps a lot. New things are being called in with this energy. Gemini loves to explore, wants to get in there and learn about all the things going on. So don't be surprised if you find yourself suddenly feeling like, oh, I need to, that class that I wanted to take, now I really want to take it. Or that, in order to implement my plan, I have to learn something. I have to activate more knowledge and learn something new. That's all going to be coming in. And that brings me to the message from the team, which is still about curiosity. So curiosity is the key word, and it is the key to a lot of adaptability and change in our life. We're going through a transmutation, a transformation, and because of that, we're constantly shifting. And when you're in a constant state of shift, it's going to cause you to feel uncomfortable with that in-between state. We're not solidly the next version of ourselves yet. And what I mean by that is the physical transmutation that's occurring. We're mid-transformation. So we're a little bit of what we were and a little bit of what we're becoming. And in this in-between space, there can be a lot of discomfort because it's like, I don't know it's like, imagine standing between the ocean and the shore. Am I a sea creature? Am I an earth creature? Right now, you're a little bit of both. And it can feel like we don't have a home, if you will. Like I need to know what environment is mine. And your environment right now is an in-between state. We're just in the in-between. And when we're in the in-between, we're also experiencing contrast, a lot of contrast. So, earth and water, something about the heavier structures of our 3D system and the higher, lighter structures of a 4D system, the physical plane and the non-physical plane, right? So the fourth density is connected to your heart. And your heart, I look like I have a little halo. This is so cool. Your heart is a transitional plane. So the lower chakras, your lower three, represent the physical plane. The upper three represent the non-physical plane. And the heart is the only one who sits as an intermediary, the space between. It's between the physical and the non-physical. It's the gateway that allows you to go into your non-physical. And we're sitting in this space now. This is such a powerful space to sit for us. So obviously, whenever we are seating our consciousness in our heart, whenever we're holding that space and coming from a heart space, we're going to feel the most at home because it's the closest energetic match to what we are going through. And the message from the team right now is how to be comfortable in contrast. So to be comfortable in contrast, when you're not quite on one plane or another, but you're somewhere in between, is to be curious about how both of those places serve you. So as we sit here in the fourth density, in the heart space, between a physical plane and a non-physical plane, between the old version of ourselves and the version we're becoming, we really benefit from pausing and saying, how does this serve me? And even when you're in a different type of contrast, like maybe you're in a space where you are holding information, like you're thinking about ascension and energy and energetic connection, and you're dealing with a world that's very analytical, evidence-based. You got to be able to touch, smell, taste, feel, or hear it in order for it to be real. So something very sort of analytical and very like tactile, but you're in this space of energetic. So it's providing a contrast. And instead of resisting the contrast that's being shown you or saying, I don't want this, rather it's, how is this serving me? So jumping instead to accepting the awareness that instead of something I have to resist or fight or get out of, that maybe I'm in this space intentionally and that it is serving me somehow. And my goal here is to get curious and be like, how does this serve me? So how does me being a placeholder for an energetic evolution and then coming across someone or something else that is pushing against that, saying no, no such thing is happening. It's very much the way it always is, and there's no evolution going on. If I were to be put into that state where I've got contrast coming at me, rather than seeing it as something resisting me or pushing against me and then feeling aggravated by it or resentful of it or defeated by it, instead of going there, we can hold this space and say, how does this contrast serve me? And you might see, like, because I am offered this alternative viewpoint as an example, it actually illustrates for me why I believe and feel what I believe and feel. Because when you offer me this contrast of none of that exists, it doesn't resonate. I feel no resonance with that. I actually feel like something's missing when you tell me that there is nothing else but the physical world. I feel like something's missing. And so when you offer that information, it gives me clarity. I'm like, oh, yes, that information doesn't fit with me because this information over here, it's not an either or for me, it's an and. And as I get that contrast, I get to understand my position, why I hold that, and understand why the opposing position doesn't quite work for me. It gives me clarity, right? So that's an example of how we could utilize curiosity to help us understand and stay in this place where it's like I'm in between something. So when I'm in between the old 3D paradigm and the new 4D and higher paradigm, and I feel like I don't really live in the 3D anymore, but I also don't live fully in like a higher 5D or higher 4D. How is this contrast serving me? How is being in this in-between place serving me? And again, you might, I don't want to answer it for you, but I want you to think about that. For me, it might be, there's so much coming up that it could be. Again, it gives you clarity, gives me clarity of choice, because we're sovereign beings. No one's forcing you to adapt or grow or shift dimensions. You can stay with the one that you're comfortable with if you want to. If you're like, no, I don't want to go higher, I want to stay here, that's what I came for. Great. This information then serves as contrast for you to get clarity about that. For me, when I am in this in-between space, I get to continue to make choices like, does it feel right to move in this direction or to move in that direction? And as I look at the two, I get clarity again. So curiosity equals clarity, and contrast is its gift, right? So that's the beauty. That's why we're offered contrast so much in this world. We get kind of fixated that it's like, oh, but I've already chosen. I want this higher timeline. I want this better feeling energy. And yet I feel so bad as I go through this experience where I've chosen this higher timeline, and yet I'm feeling the lower energy. I'm disappointed. I feel disconnected. I feel sad. I feel out of place. Why is that happening? The contrast is there to give you clarity, because remember, we are beings of free will, meaning that it's not just one choice you make and you're done. You have to choose it again and again, because what if, and I'll use this really silly scenario, but what if when you chose something, universe went right, locked it in, and I'm keeping it there, and you don't get to change it? And we'll use the idea of breakfast, okay? Let's say one morning the universe says to you, Therese, what do you want for breakfast? And I'm like, scrambled eggs and toast. And it's like, great, we'll get you that scrambled eggs and toast. And so every day I wake up and I get scrambled eggs and toast every day without fail. It's there, scrambled eggs and toast for the rest of my life. Now, at first you might be like, ooh, yay, it's already there. Like, I get this, and it's guaranteed. I get it all the time. It feels so good. But then there's one day you wake up and you might go, I want fruit. I want a cinnamon roll. I want to not eat eggs. I want vegetables. I want something else. And yet you cannot get that. You only get scrambled eggs and toast. I give you this silly analogy to point out the fact that the free will works, and today I choose scrambled eggs and toast. And if I want it tomorrow, I have to wake up and choose scrambled eggs and toast, right? It's the same principle when it comes to what we are deciding about for our lives. That's why people change trajectory throughout their life. They might be on one path, they might be on the path of becoming a lawyer and turn around, become an artist. They might be on the path of becoming an artist and turn around and become a chef. Do you see what I mean? It's like we get this free will and this choice, which means that we constantly have to make it, which is why we're offered contrast, because contrast gives you clarity. So when you make that choice and you're like, this feels good, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, are the eggs and toast going to be here? And it's like, no, you have to choose it. And you're like, oh, okay. I choose eggs and toast again. It's the same with this idea of like, I want to be on the highest timeline. Okay, you're on the highest timeline right now. When you wake up tomorrow and you hear crappy news, it makes you feel really angry and you feel disappointed in the world and you're like, what's going on? You realize, oh my gosh, I'm not on the highest timeline. There might be a part of you that feels disappointed about that. Like, why? I already said I want to be on this. I don't want to experience these lower things. The reason we get the contrast is so they can be like, are you sure? Is that your choice? Or do you choose something else? And every time we reaffirm a choice over and over again, the energy of it gets stronger in our field to the point in which you will hold it and maintain it, right? You will be able to hold and maintain it. But at this point, it's got to be a choice that you're consistently making so much that it starts to stick. And in between all of that, you'll still get the opportunity to experience the opposite, or the opposite will be presented. It'll give you the opportunity to get contrast so that you can get clarity. And you can be like, yep, I still, after all this time, I still want that higher timeline, or I still want this experience. And that's the gift that contrast gives. So as you're experiencing this in-between state, as you're experiencing things in your life that are unwanted feelings, unwanted experiences, unwanted, you name it, if it's unwanted, it's not being presented to you because you didn't do a good job. It's not being presented to you because you're being punished. It's being presented to you because the universe promised you opportunity of choice. And it's got to show you the choices that are available. You can continue to believe what you believe, or you can change your mind, right? So contrast allows us to get clarity. And with that, let's look at this week's karma cards. All right, if you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message for this week? And I've got 2 sets of answers: a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and feel what is the guidance you need this week. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for May 21st through the 28th. And the flavor of this reading, well, Saturn is showing up here. So Saturn gets to be, I guess, the biggest player right now this week, because it's a significant shift, right? Mercury changes frequently, the sun changes frequently, and the moon changes frequently, but Saturn does not. So when Saturn moves chairs, we feel it. And that's something that's coming up this week. So Saturn is about getting real, getting down to earth, being practical, learning the lesson, dealing with the karma. In the sign of Virgo, which is really interesting because that's the other sign that Mercury rules. Now, where Mercury in Gemini is all about the curiosity and learning, Mercury in Virgo is all about the analyzing and planning, getting strategic with what we've learned. In the 6th house, which is ruled by Virgo, which is all about our daily life, our habits and routines, and how we balance our work and our health. It's also how we are of service to others. So what's interesting about this reading is it's all earth energy. So there's something kind of like some maybe heavy work that we got this week, but let's find out what they have to say. All right, for those who are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to be realistic about the serving of others as a full-time job. This is so interesting because, okay, when I hear the serving of others, I'm also hearing that higher timeline, which is the service to others timeline as a full-time job. So again, going back to what I was saying before, if you want that higher timeline, you have to choose it consistently. Every day, every time contrast is offered to you, every time it seems like maybe you're not on it, right? Maybe affirming it when you are on it. It's a full-time job. You never stop like having to go back and saying, I want this. And again, like I said, it's in respect to your sovereignty, in respect to your free will, that you are a free agent who gets to choose. And you will not be held to a choice you previously made unless you choose it again. So if it's what you want, keep choosing it. So the reality is, maybe a lot of us want to just say, take care of me. I just do what I want. Just anticipate my needs. And the universe is like, hun, that's not how it works. I'm here to reflect back to you what it is you put into me. So when you put out that you want to be on that higher timeline, I'm going to reflect that desire back to you. And you're going to choose it again, and you're going to choose actions that align to that. But as far as Big Mama, Big Daddy universe coming in and doing it for you, that's not how it works. You're going to have to recognize that. And this is true about anything. So even though I'm talking about the service to others, the higher timeline, think about it about your health. You're going to have to choose your health every day. There's going to be times where you're going to have contrast, where it's like, your health might say lower your blood sugar, and the contrast is here's this deliciously frosted chocolatey fudgy piece of cake, and you're going to be like, my health, the cake. My health, the cake, right? The reality is you have to keep choosing it. It is a full-time job. That's not meant, even though it might sound heavy, it's not meant to be heavy. It's just meant to show you like what you want out of life. You have to keep choosing it. So if you want to be healthy, you've got to choose the health over the cake. Maybe sometimes you choose the cake, but then you got to choose the health. Do you still want your health? Because now you have to work harder because of the cake, right? Or your job. It's like, oh, I want to make it in the world as a hairdresser or something. And then it's like, the reality is this. The reality of being a hairdresser are these hours, working with these types of customers, learning that all this stuff like chemicals and chemistry and safety and all this other stuff that's maybe not in your mind about what a hairdresser is, but you got to learn. So be realistic. There's a lot to this. Are you still going to choose it? That's what we're being offered with everything. So when we want something, we have to put our energy in. So every time you say, I want the highest timeline, you got to put your energy in. I choose that, which means I refocus my thoughts and I realign my energy to be a match to the highest timeline. So I can't sit here and be angry and full of spite if someone cuts me off. I have to choose to forgive them. That happened the other day. I was driving and this person didn't even use their turn signal. They were in a turn, like a left turn lane, and I was going straight, and they just like cut right over as soon as the light turned green and got right in front of me. Didn't know it was coming. And of course I've got my kids in the car, so I'm like, Mama Bear, I'm feeling that anger building up, and I had to be like, but I want to be on the highest timeline. So if I choose to hold a grudge and get angry, which was a very appealing choice in that moment, I'm lowering myself down to another frequency level. But if I want the highest timeline, I need to be in alignment with forgiveness. Like, I don't know why this person made this choice. We're safe. I forgive you. Moments like that have happened to me. Where's my compassion? It's like, it's hard, but you got to choose it. So when you're choosing something, you got to put your energy into it and be a match to it. And that's what's coming through here. All right, mental action at this time. Be concerned about the details of serving. I feel like this is where they're talking about the contrast, because the details of serving, there's so many ways we could look at this. So again, where it's like, how can I be of service to you? One of the details is you got to remember, if you're on the path of service to others, highest timeline, right? Positive polarity. It includes you. So it's not being subservient. It's serving. It's like I have enough, so I have enough to share. Also, other details to be realistic about when it comes to serving. Not every action that you do is going to be noticed, appreciated, or validated. And yet, to be of service means I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because it's the loving thing to do. It's the helpful thing to do. It's the altruistic thing to do. Sometimes, like, gratitude doesn't always come with service. You can do service and people could literally be like, I don't appreciate that. I don't like you. I don't like this. And yet, if you focus on the outcome or the performance of it, it's going to leave you flat. If it's coming from your heart, there's going to be, you're going to be able to absorb that contrast. You're like, ooh, contrast gives me clarity. Remember that. So that's one of the things it's talking about. Even as we choose the highest timeline, the service to others timeline, we still have lessons there. There's still going to be contrast. What kind of contrast we'll see, right? We will see what that looks like. What if everyone wants to be serving each other and no one wants to be receiving? That might be one of the lessons we learn. It's a different one. We're not used to that one, but just as a off the top of my head thought, that could maybe be a lesson we learn. Who knows? The only point I'm trying to make here is that contrast will be present with us to help give us clarity at every level. The intensity or the feeling of the contrast might shift, but contrast will be there nevertheless. Right. Physical action at this time, you must wait before you can do what you must do, and do it a little bit at a time. Whenever we get these kinds of super convoluted messages, we got to pick it apart. Number one, this is not a time of action. More contemplation happening in this week than action. So we're not going to get, Saturn's known as the delay energy. It definitely slows things down and it forces you to go over things and really look at what you're building and check the structural integrity of it. So I think there's going to be a lot more review. Also, we still have Pluto in Aquarius in retrograde right now. So there's an empowerment thing that's getting reviewed in the background. Now listen to the rest. Do what you must do and do it a little at a time. You will have to do something, but not yet. Right now, it's about getting that clarity and considering, why is this being offered to me? Why is this being shown to me? Why, if I chose this, am I getting that? It's time to review it and look at it. And then there's going to be an action that you must take to be, like I said, a match. If you're saying you want this, you got to put energy into this, but not yet. Right now is review. All right, now let's look at outcomes for Saturn in Virgo in the 6th house of health and service. All right, spiritual outcome at this time, maturity that brings methods for the healing power of service to others. Again, by going through that contemplation, by considering, how is this contrast helping me? Where's the gift here in the hard stuff I'm dealing with right now? Where's the gift? Rather than resisting it, when we look at it, spiritual maturity points are acquired. And then how to be in alignment with the highest timeline, that healing that comes from I see it, right? When I choose to forgive, when I want to close my heart, when I choose to keep it open. Having this moment gave me contrast because I was offered an opportunity to close my heart, and even though it was really attractive, I vacillated between the two. I wanted to close it, and then I realized, no, I really want to keep it open. That creates healing when you move into those healthier cycles. And then the service to others is that higher timeline. Mental outcome at this time. Caution regarding the analyzing of what is good for us. This one's tricky. I feel like it's you don't want to put too much weight on this. I feel like all the light Gemini energy can help us move past it. I feel like we could get bogged down by this. If you spend too much time considering maybe how much contrast or what the contrast is, or getting bogged down by that it could take your energy lower. I kind of get the sense that we don't have to worry about this too much. Like I said, consider all this light, fast moving energy where the mind wants to move around a lot. That's going to help us from getting stuck in the trap of like overthinking about it. Really like, well, why, maybe I'm always going to have this heavy thing there. When Saturn's around, things get heavier anyway. It's just like you feel the weight of that. But that's not necessarily the truth of the situation. Just like when things feel like super light, easy breezy all the time, that's not necessarily the truth of the situation either. There's a blend in there. I feel like we have an opportunity to sort of like skate past this one a little bit. But if you notice yourself kind of getting like over fixating on the negative, or things getting stuck, or how heavy it feels, take a step back, take a breath, give yourself the chance to just decompress and focus on something else before you sit there and really try to untangle some deeper knots. Sometimes we need to do it a little bit at a time. And we need to walk away, give yourself permission to relax. Even on our worst days, you are allowed peace. Even on your worst days, you are allowed to take a break. Even on the hardest days, you are allowed to find joy. Right. Physical outcome at this time, limits imposed resulting from the perfectionism of your work. You can't logic your way out of this. You can't bypass your way out of this. There's something here where it's like, okay, Therese, I'm going to do that work. I'm going to investigate the contrast, and how is this contrast a gift to me? And maybe you're doing it in sort of like I'll do that so I can get out of this heavy place, or this icky feeling, or this bad thing. And it's like, it still might suck, even after you like investigate it and look at it and be like, okay, I get it. This is a gift. It doesn't mean it's going to necessarily change the way you feel about it, is the feeling I'm getting here. But you have to remember that things change, right? That's why we have to choose every day, because things change. Change is a guarantee. So at this point in time, as you investigate these different issues, especially when it comes to contrast about what's being offered to you, especially when it comes to getting clarity around your choices, you might be feeling like, okay, I did the investigation. Now I want to be free of this feeling of disappointment or anger or frustration. Even yesterday, or the other day rather, when I chose to forgive, that anger was still there. I was just like, but I choose to forgive. Like I had to sit with it. It didn't alleviate it just because I invoked the magical words of forgiveness. I didn't have peace in my heart, but I also didn't have burning anger all day. Like I was able to get over it faster because I chose that which I wished to align to. But I still had to feel what I felt. I still had to validate my feelings. I still had to investigate. I still had to recognize the impulses that come up when I felt threatened or unsafe, or that my children felt unsafe, all of that stuff. And I get the feeling here that there's like, we don't really get to bypass anything. You don't get to, you're not going to get out of it if you do it well. You'll just understand more and still have to deal with it to some degree. And again, remember, around all this very heavy energy that it's talking to us about is a lot of lightness. So this is balanced. We're already inside this energy. Maybe by the time I do the new moon circle on Monday, I'll be like, okay, I understand this reading more. And of course, if you want to join me for that new moon in Gemini that's happening on Monday the 26th, here is the link. It's in the description below. You can join us, learn more about this energy, and we'll already be under that influence of Saturn and Aries, and we'll really kind of understand it better on the other side of this shift. So if that sounds good to you, I'd love to see you there. In the meantime, we're going to look at things, but we're also going to allow ourselves the grace that things change. So whether it feels heavy right now or light, things shift, and they will continue to shift. And it's all about you choosing that which you want to align to, and then putting the energy in that makes you a match to that. And with that, I'm sending you so much love. Mwah. Have a beautiful week.